You've done everything they say, and you're still broke. You budget, you hustle, you try to be better with money, but somehow it always slips away. Maybe you've started to wonder, is it really about the money, or is something else running the show? What if your financial struggle isn't a lack of effort, but a reflection of beliefs you never agreed to? Beliefs you inherited, patterns you didn't choose. And what if no amount of discipline will work until you update the programming underneath it all? Most people think being broke is a math problem, but the real problem lives deeper than your bank account. It lives in your nervous system, your memories, the part of you that never felt safe to have more. Let's go there, because once you see what's really causing this, everything will start to make sense. You wake up with numbers already spinning in your head. Bills, rent, that card you maxed out. Gas prices went up again. Groceries too. Stress wraps around your chest before your feet even hit the floor. You go to work, you smile, you pretend it's fine. You move through the day thinking, if I just work harder, maybe next month will be easier, but it never is. So you mentally calculate every dollar. Avoid checking your account. Tell yourself you'll figure it out. When you finally get paid, there's a moment of relief, but by the time you breathe, the money's almost gone. So you do the thing that comforts you for now. Little pick-me-ups, food delivery, a scroll online that somehow leads to new shoes or a gadget you needed. Then the guilt creeps back in. You call it life. You even think you're just bad with money. But this isn't personal failure. It's a pattern. A life where surviving feels like success. That tight feeling in your chest isn't just about bills. It's the weight of carrying a story you didn't choose. A story that keeps you running, but never arriving. Most people never question what they believe about money. They just live it. Think back. What did you grow up hearing? Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. We can't afford that. Better to be humble than rich. Don't talk about money. It's rude. These phrases didn't just pass through your ears. They settled deep. They became the software running silently in the background of your life. And no one told you that those quiet childhood lessons would shape how you earn, spend, save, or avoid money entirely. If money felt scarce when you were young, your brain learned to treat it like danger. So now, when it finally shows up in your life, some part of you feels uneasy. You might even find ways to get rid of it fast. Here's the most dangerous part. When you believe money is stressful, scarce, or wrong, you'll unconsciously create just enough chaos to stay comfortable in that belief. Because comfort doesn't always come from peace. It comes from the familiar, even if that familiar is struggle. So, no, you're not bad with money. You're loyal to an identity you didn't choose, to a belief system that was never really yours. Until you question that inheritance, your finances will keep playing out the same old story, only louder. It's not that you don't want to change. It's just that every time you try to, something pulls you back. You start building savings, then suddenly there's an emergency. You pay off your card, then run it up again. You plan a budget, then find yourself saying, screw it, just to feel in control. It looks like lack of discipline, but it's actually a form of self-protection. Because saving money can feel threatening when you've only known life in survival mode. Success can feel unsafe when your identity is still rooted in struggle. So you overspend to feel powerful, or give money away to avoid guilt. You say yes to things you can't afford because you don't want to look cheap. You avoid looking at your finances because what you might see would confirm your worst fears about yourself. No spreadsheet accounts for that. No financial literacy class teaches how to deal with emotional scarcity. No one talks about how your inner wounds borrow against your future. And so the cycle repeats again and again. Earn, stress, spend, shame, repeat. But here's the truth almost no one says out loud. You're not sabotaging your money. You're trying to protect yourself from pain. Pain that's been passed down, allowed, rehearsed. Breaking that cycle isn't just about money. It's about finally believing you're worth more than momentary relief. Your brain isn't wired for wealth. It's wired for survival. That means it's constantly scanning for threats, emotional, social, physical. And if growing up, money was tied to fear, conflict, or shame, then money became a threat in your nervous system. So even now, every financial decision you make is being filtered through old survival data. Not logic, not goals, but memories. When you try to save, part of you panics because saving feels like not having enough. When you finally have extra, your nervous system wants to release it because holding on to it feels unfamiliar, even dangerous. Spending becomes control. Evading money becomes safety. Avoidance becomes a form of emotional regulation. And here's the hard truth. If peace with money has never existed in your body, your mind will return to whatever feels safe, even if it's chaos. Not because you're broken, but because your system is doing its job. It's trying to protect you using outdated information. This is why you can't willpower your way out of financial patterns. This is why strategies alone don't stick. You're not failing. You're operating on a survival template that was never updated. To change your finances, you don't just need knowledge. You need nervous system safety. You need emotional permission to thrive. Because until your nervous system feels safe, no amount of money will ever feel like enough. You've been told to try harder, to budget better, to stop spending on things you don't need, as if discipline alone could ever fix a deeply emotional wound. But this isn't about control. It's about compassion. Real change doesn't begin in your wallet. It begins in your story. And until you reclaim that story, your role in it, the pieces of it that don't belong to you, you'll keep defaulting to someone else's narrative. Start here. Write down everything you were taught about money growing up, directly or indirectly. Then ask yourself, who did this serve? And does it still apply? You may realize you've been carrying your parents' fears, or society's shame, or a friend's mistakes. But none of that belongs to your future. The truth is, money isn't moral. It doesn't reward the good or punish the bad. It simply reflects the energetic relationship you've built with it. So if your financial life feels stuck, don't just do more. Get quieter. Go inward. Learn to sit with the discomfort of having. Practice the muscle of receiving without guilt. Train your nervous system to believe that peace doesn't mean danger. This is where freedom starts, when you begin to associate stability with safety instead of fear. And it's not because you forced yourself to change, but because you finally realized you deserve something better. You are not your balance. You are not your past, and you are not broken. You've simply been running a script that wasn't yours, living in patterns you didn't create, making decisions not from freedom, but from fear, fatigue, and the false belief that you don't deserve more. It's easy to shame yourself, to say, I should know better, or maybe I just can't handle money. But what you've really needed all along isn't another financial rule. It's permission. Permission to pause, to grieve what you never received, to let go of all the guilt, the scarcity, the labels that never belong to you. Because healing your relationship with money doesn't start with doing. It starts with being, choosing to believe that you are worthy of peace, of security, of having enough, and feeling safe inside that having. From there, better decisions will flow. Not because you forced a habit, but because your identity evolved. The truth is, when you stop trying to solve your finances with numbers alone and start paying attention to the person behind the numbers, everything shifts. You're not stuck. You're waking up. And the next time that voice whispers, "You're just bad with money," I hope you'll remember, that story was never yours.